Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is Mike Killey here with Brownie Postgame. I have a special guest, a guy that I've been friends with for a while, friend of the channel, I should say, Mr. DF Sports. Derek, welcome.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a long time since we've gotten to talk face to face like this. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. And just a little bit of background about Derek. So DF Sports, you can find him on Twitter. And you can see his little DF_sports_. That's how you can get him there, and then also DF Sports on YouTube as well. And also, and if you guys are into Twitter and you guys are into the Spaces component of Twitter, DF is pretty much in the Spaces. I would say that. So DF,
a little bit too much.
Talk to me a little bit about Browns After Dark and what you're doing in the Spaces.
Yeah, man. So Browns After Dark, it's kind of crazy how it all started. I mean, you talk about a group of about like 5 to 6 guys who just met randomly. One day, I don't know how, we just came into each other's lives, started talking, became really close friends. Some of us are in different spots now. That's how life goes. But yeah, man, you just start something out of the blue and it grows and grows. And then really it blew up with Watson Watch is what we call it, where that week period of, hey, are the Browns in on Deshaun Watson or are they not? And then, I mean, we know how the story ended, but basically that was kind of the explosion. And ever since then, we've just kind of having a good time. It's meant for fans who don't usually get a chance to share their thoughts and their opinions. You're welcome to come on. And that's what I love about it. Doesn't matter what you know, what you don't know. You're allowed to have a voice.
How do people participate in it? If somebody wants to get involved and listen in to Browns After Dark or say anything in it and how do they do that?
So on Twitter, the nice thing is, like, if I'm following Mike or if you're following me, it'll show up on the timeline like outlined in purple if you're in a space, so that'll let you know that you're in a space. And then you just click on that person's profile and it should say go into space or something like that, but spaces are always at the top. So if you'll see like a bunch of profile pictures instead of a purple like glowing thing, that's what spaces are. But as far as BAD specifically, we do have a Twitter page, literally just Browns After Dark every, well, let's see, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night now. So yeah, we're getting it rolling.
And who's in there with you? Who are the primary, people who are in Browns After Dark, who are in there the majority of the time talking and conversing in the space?
Now, it's funny, that question, if you've asked me that last week, if you asked me that a month ago, that changes all the time. But I would say for the most part now, guys you can count on being there. Myself and then Michael Cozy, he also is a huge part with this. My buddy who recently kind of jumped on board, Tony Battaglio, shout out to him. The most popular verified Browns person on Twitter is what we like to call him. But and then I'll go ahead and shout out JC because he's a part of it as well too. Tori, Brownsbot was in there for a while. There's a lot of us, but it kind of depends because with spaces, it's so accessible, but it's based on your time. If you can join. If not, so be it. I mean, it's what it is.
So for anybody out there who's on Twitter or just, this is something new to the people who are just on YouTube or who are hearing about this, Browns After Dark, it's a group of Browns fans who talk after dark about the Browns in Twitter Spaces. What time does it kick off again? Like, what if you were to say, like, oh, there's probably a Browns After Dark going on right now, what time would they want to go on and check that out?
So it starts at 9:00, but normally things don't get rolling till about 9:20, just because that gives a lot of time for people to hop in. And like you said, with spaces, there's so many of them. A lot of times somebody will be coming immediately from another Brown space, and it's just like, all right, well, hey, what's next? It's like party hopping almost.
Yeah, I remember this summer when the whole Deshaun Watson thing was going on, and that's when, I mean, spaces have been around for a little while, but I hadn't really even participated in it. So I'm on this family vacation, and we're in Amelia Island, which is like, just north of Jacksonville. It's really nice, and it's just the only thing I could think of was going on with what was happening with Deshaun. And so we started seeing the spaces pop up, and people were in there. Sometimes there was 100, sometimes there were several thousand of these people in the spaces. And the thing that always kind of makes me chuckle about them, for anybody who's out there, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but the way that you show up in the space is by the amount of followers you have, right? So the people who have the more followers show up at the top, and when they come in. So every time I go in there, since I have a decent amount of followers, I'm always at the very top, and I'm like, I don't want to be up here. I just want to be down. I want to be down at the bottom, just listening in, and that's it. I have my own, megaphone for speaking Browns. I just want to hear what everybody else has to say, and sometimes it's like, oh, I never thought about that. But it really hasn't been since this summer that I actually started participating in. But I love, like, when I'm traveling, when I'm going on airplanes, when I'm in like the airport or something like that, I go into the spaces, I just listen, because it's more entertaining than music.
It's nuts because, like, I mean, I've gotten a new job now, but like what I used to do, I'm just constantly working, constantly moving. And like, it doesn't matter as long as I'm not like distracted on my phone, whatever, they didn't care. So literally, I swear to you, there was a day I was working a Saturday. I think I started work at 9 and I finished that day at like 2. Space went through my whole work schedule. And I was just the whole time I'm just working and talking. All of a sudden the day's over and I'm like, oh my gosh, like just talking, like doing what we do with friends, like that's crazy to me. If Twitter's smart, and I know
They're
they've
not.
been talking about, they've been talking about a lot of things, but they could blow this up massively. I mean, this could be revolutionary for like what we do, talking about sports, talking with your friends. That's what it is. That's why it's blown up.
The thing is, I always thought like YouTube and a lot of social media itself is this is the first time in history where anybody can really have their own TV station to a certain degree. Like, that's what we're doing. We've created our own little news station, little interview station, whatever we want to call it. You can have whatever you want so long as you have a webcam and access to the internet. That's basically what it comes down to. And now you've got within Twitter Spaces, and what that is, it's a conference call with hundreds, thousands of people, with a way to kind of curate it, and so people can jump in, say what they want to say, and get out. So it's almost like it's like call into a radio station type thing. Hey, your turn to go. Say what you want. It's like it turns Twitter into like a talk show. Which is really interesting. I agree. If they want to do something with it, they could, because no other social channel has that, really. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you see ads a lot of times for like StreamYard, and I love StreamYard. I've been able to jump into, like I was on a Panthers podcast a couple weeks ago. They were having what they called a free for all, which was like essentially a YouTube space, but even that, it's difficult. Where this, I mean, if I wanted to right now, I could literally in probably 5 seconds be in a space and talking. Yeah,
right.
It's great. And if you get people who know what they're doing, who can run it and be kind and not just be jerks to everybody, then it's really great. Because then you have that big time sit down, let's talk through ideas, and like I pull from you, you pull from me. That's awesome. That's what society's supposed to be. And we've kind of limited it, but spaces, I feel like a little bit of that's coming back, even just in the sports world. But yeah, man, I'm glad we're talking about it, because it's a crazy thing. It's literally changed my life. Like from the day I started, it has changed my life, because you meet people. It's nuts.
Absolutely, man. Because I mean, I feel like a lot of things that happen like on YouTube and a lot of these social channels, like it gets saturated with voices pretty quickly, right? There's a couple people who are successful, and everybody else is kind of like scrapping for views and everything like that. So that's one of the nice things about here at Brownie Postgame. Like I feel, and I was actually talking to my son about this morning. I'm like, I know the people, I know the community here, like. When I do the pre and post game shows, or I do my live shows, I know the people that are scrolling down there at the bottom, all their name, but I know the people who aren't paid members, who are just there every week, that I can count on. I know, I feel like I know them, even though all I'm communicating to is through the chat. The Spaces thing, and really what that does is this, it's kind of like the next evolution of Twitter itself, right? Started off with like, character limit type messaging, and now you can go in there and talk to anybody. And I would tell you, I think for what you've done, growing what from where you were maybe 2 years ago when we first met to where you are now with what you've done on YouTube and growing yourself on Twitter. But you're like the king of spaces, dude. Like you're in there every time, man. Like you, Connor, Bot was in there all the time. Like these guys, I'm like, and everybody who's talking in there, I'm like, you guys do this. You guys talk about the Browns better than I talk about the Browns. I will fully admit that. Like the things that you guys are saying in there, for anybody who's out there who wants more Browns, like if you want a community of people that you can listen to, like the Spaces is a great way to do it. Now, not to, but I will digress a little bit. Also, subscribe to my guy, right? Go onto YouTube and find him and follow him on Twitter as well. Before we get into that, let's talk about some Browns. I've been through this a lot. I talk about it on the channel. We talked about it with Nick yesterday. I want to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
How many games are we winning out of the first 11 before Deshaun gets back?
So this is a really interesting question because I don't know about you, but for me, I think the way the season goes depends on those first 4 games. And I'm not trying to limit it, but those first 4 are by far your easiest. You have a Jets team with an injured Zach Wilson, very talented. I think the Jets are going to be a damn good football team in a couple years, but they're very young, a lot of rookies at important positions. Again, quarterback, second year injury. So you should beat the Jets, no matter who's your starting quarterback. The Steelers, we know they're going to be good because they're always good, but still early on in the season, I don't care who's starting, whether if it be Mitch, whether it be Pickett, Mason for that matter, like you should be able to contend. And really you should be able to beat the Steelers.
Hopefully.
The Falcons, I don't even need to sit here and explain that. That should be the easiest win on the schedule. And then you have the big one. The NFL has set the Cleveland Browns up for the ultimate failure, I think, week 1 with the Baker Mayfield versus the Cleveland Browns in Carolina. How they come out and play in that game is going to tell me a lot, because are you going to come out and say, listen, we don't care about the media. We don't care about the perception of how this has all been handled. Are we just going to come out and play football? Are we going to be the Cleveland Browns, run the ball, play defense, execute Browns football? Like that's what they got to do. And I think setting that tone starts those first 4 games. Outside of that, you got a lot of tough ones. I mean, the NFL has really set us up to fail this year. I think heading into Deshaun's first game, I'm going to say best case scenario 6-5.
Okay.
But I'm really expecting somewhere around 5-6, maybe 4 wins. I just don't see that. But if I had to guess, it would be one of the two of 5-6 or 6-5. That's just me.
I echo that completely. I think if we get 6 wins, I will take it in a heartbeat. Same thing. We had Nick Pedone on yesterday. He said if I could buy that right now, I would buy it.
Yeah.
Give me 6 wins. Even if there's more upside where we could get 7 or 8, I will take a minimum of 6. Like no questions asked. Like sight unseen. Give me 6.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the reality is more like 5. Because we haven't won an opening game in decades, right? Yeah. So if we think we're gonna waltz into Carolina with a healthy Christian McCaffrey and a motivated Baker Mayfield and other weapons, on offense and a decent caliber defense, not top caliber, but like decent enough.
I like their defense a lot. I think the Panthers defense is really underrated. Personally.
There you go. I was hesitant to be like they're really good, but I have a lot of respect for them myself, right? And then we're gonna roll in there with Jacoby Brissett, who hasn't played a down in live action for the Browns yet, because for some reason we're getting Josh Dobbs ready. So we haven't seen a down from him yet. And we're going to roll into that game. Now, he's going to play in the 3rd preseason game, so he's going to get some reps. We'll finally see it. But we're going to roll into that game on paper going, we're the favorites to win. I think it's a very sneaky and dangerous game, and I God hope we win it. But I will tell you, I would not be surprised if we lose, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lost bad. It wouldn't shock me. Nothing would shock me at this point.
It's tough because, again, I'll say it. If you're afraid to say it, I'll say it. That Panthers defense is really good. A lot of people are overlooking them. They might not be top 5, but in my opinion, they're creeping maybe around like 7 or 8, somewhere in there, to where if a couple things go right, they can be really, really good. And for Cleveland, it's this whole thing that you just talked about. Jacoby Brissett, I understand the concerns about, hey, we don't want to risk him getting injured. I understand that. I do. But when the Kansas City Chiefs are out there playing Patrick Mahomes and you're not going to play Jacoby Brissett, I mean, come on. What are we doing? The guy's got to get reps. He
100%.
has to.
100%. And so we've got, what I did was I like to break it down into like buckets of like 3 games at a time. And I look at the first 3 games with the Panthers, the Jets, and the Steelers. We have to go 2-1.
Yes.
I think we come out of there anything worse than 2-1, we're in deep trouble real quick. Then you've got Falcons, Chargers, Patriots. At that point, I think we're going 1-2, right? So now we're 3-3 after week 6. Then we've got Ravens, Bengals, Dolphins. I think we have to go 2-1 here. But I don't see it. I don't even see 2-1 here.
No.
Because we have at the Ravens, Bengals at home, Super Bowl defending Bengals coming to Cleveland, and then we go to Miami. We don't historically play well in Miami. We don't. We don't historically play well in Baltimore, right? Miami, who knows what's going to happen with them? I feel like Miami could be a train wreck ready to happen, but I'm not 100. They could be great. I could see them winning 10 or 11 games, but I could also see them winning 4, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Dolphins, but I can tell you the Bengals and the Ravens, they ain't winning 4 games. They're going to win more like 12, right? So at that point, let's say we're 1-2 again. Okay. So now we have won our 5 games. That's it. That's all we got, because then we got Bills, Bucks left on the schedule, and they ain't no way we're going to be favored in either of those games.
Yeah.
That's 5 wins. That's 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
You talk about a miracle. If you can get one of those games against the Bills or the Bucks, that will be a miracle. Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. We have played the Bill. We're not afraid of the Bills.
No. Every time we played the Bills, I feel like we played them really tough.
I can't remember the last time we won in Buffalo, though. Like the 90s? I really don't remember. Maybe Phil Dawson made a kick somewhere. I can't remember, but it's been a long time since we won in Buffalo. And then I had to tell you, one of the teams that I think is going to regress is the Buccaneers. I don't think they're going to be as good. I don't think Tom Brady's taking this year seriously at all. He doesn't have AB. He doesn't have Gronk. They're still going to be decent. Like Fournette's 500 pounds. So I don't know how the Buccaneers are going to be, but I'll tell you, they're not Super Bowl caliber. They're not. I don't care what you think. They got a new coach. They're not Super Bowl. Even though they have Brady, they were set up to win that year with Brady, and they only won 10 games in the regular season. Keep that in mind. So they're beatable, and they're coming to Cleveland at late November.
Well, a lot of people, and myself included, I totally forgot Bruce Arians retired. So that's a big factor.
Oh yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. So and then you got the Texans. So at this point we have 5 wins. Now let's say the Texans December on. Let's say we win against the Texans. That's 6. We win against the Bengals. That's 7. We win against the Ravens. That's 8. We win against the Saints. That's 9. We win against the Commanders. Is 10. And then we beat the Steelers. That's 11. Do you realize we have to be perfect?
Perfect.
We have to be perfect to get into the playoffs. It's 10, like 9 games ain't gonna make it. 10. You're probably going to be looking on the outside, looking in at 10 and 11. You're going to make the playoffs with 11 wins. Okay.
The good news is with Deshaun, the Deshaun schedule, if you want to call it that, you do have, I believe, what'd you say, 3 divisional games. So, yep. I mean, if you want it, the opportunity's there. Obviously you're going to have to handle your business before you get Deshaun, but it's a lot of pressure. I think you talk about the NFL setting the Browns up. How about that first game back in Houston? Hey, Deshaun, you don't want to handle pressure. Go deal with that. Go deal with that. We'll see. I hope he's mentally tough enough because I don't care how bad the Texans are. If he can't handle that, he's going to be terrible. So
It's going to be a test of his mettle. I'll tell you that, because you look at I think the thing that pisses me off about the Texans game and the fact that he's coming back for that is the Texans literally enabled the behavior that caused him to be suspended. Let's be honest. Like let's call it what it is. They enabled the behavior. Now, I'm not saying that he's guilty. I'm not trying to pass judgment on, but it's clearly something happened. And the Texans were clearly involved. They set up the hotel rooms. They gave him an NDA. They knew what was happening. And just some guy on the wait staff or the training team, like you ever go to a weightlifting room? They don't have NDAs, hanging right next to the towels, right? So that had to go up the chain to get that. So the Texans are somewhat responsible for what's going on, and yet they get to sell tickets to the circus when Deshaun's coming back. So the media circus is coming with Deshaun. They get to sell tickets. Their fans get to boo him the loudest. And the eyeballs from the television, everything like that is going to be there. And they get to look like, well, we're the good guys. Big bad Deshaun, he's gone. We're the good guys. And he has to come to our house and play. And that upsets me. I'll be honest, it does.
It's a money ploy. I mean, somebody brought this up. If you look at Russ's first game, it's against Seattle. You look at Baker's first game, it's against Cleveland. Deshaun's first game's against the Texans.
Yes, good points.
They're doing this on purpose. And to your point about the Texans, say what you will about Deshaun, because I understand everybody's got an opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, because everybody has a different perspective. But aside from Deshaun's side of things, looking at the Texans, it is funny to me that an organization can have 30 settled cases like that. Like just instantly, as soon as they came out, settled, all of them.
Done.
And nobody bats an eye. It's not even questioned. I've not heard one person, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in sports media, as far as your Collins, your Undisputeds, First Takes. I've heard nobody talk about that. I just find that a little bit weird.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
I think that, I mean, in the whole thing, from a PR perspective, you got to think about really what the media is there to do. The media is there to protect the league. They're the talking piece of the Shield.
Yes.
And if they want to get access to the Shield, they got to play by rules. And the rules are, don't go after the teams. If we're going to go after anybody, it's going to be a player, and we're all going to agree that you're allowed to go after that player, right? And now it certainly feels like Deshaun's made out to be just this awful, horrible person, and everybody can have their own opinion on that. But then the thing is, like you were mentioning, they get away scot-free. Nobody comes, the hammer doesn't drop in the Texans. They don't lose any draft picks. They don't get fined. They just paid some settlement amount. We don't even know what that was. It could be, a free hot dog at a game. It doesn't matter. But they settled. And then they came out with their PR statement. We want to support the women and blah, 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 blah. So It's unfortunate. All right. Next up, just from this is the last thing, is I want to touch on this as well. And everybody who's coming on that I'm doing this series of interviews with, I want to get your opinion. How do you feel about Mr. Brissett over the course of this 11 games? Are you Jacoby season? Are you let's wait and see? Are you I kind of like what I saw in Dobbs, or are you let's get Jimmy on the phone?
So, first things first, I want to say the whole Dobbs thing, I went to the Eagles game on Sunday. I was pleasantly surprised because when we signed Josh Dobbs, I was like, it's interesting. I don't know why we did it, but whatever. And that guy has come out and he's lit it up. Now, yes, it's preseason. The talent level changes drastically when the season starts. So
pressure changes as well.
Pressure, yep. You got to take that for what you will there. As far as Jacoby, here's what I've been saying. I am not even in the slightest concerned about Jacoby Brissett being competent. And I'll put it to you like this. The Browns have always asked Baker Mayfield over the last couple years, and this is why 2020 was so successful. What the Browns did was literally do what they do best, which is what? Run the football. Okay. You're successful running the football. What do we need outside of that? We need you to be able to hit guys on these boots. We need you to be able to read the defense, just hit the open man, because so much of Kevin Stefanski's offense is timing and ball placement. Baker Mayfield in 2020 was able to do that. 2021, there was no threat of that. We weren't even competent in the pass game. So the boxes got stacked. Nick Chubb, Hunt got hurt. I mean, it was a disaster. So as far as the quarterback position, you're literally saying, okay, Jacoby, here's what we need you to do. And Jacoby's a lot different than Baker. He's more of a pocket guy, sit back there. He can manipulate the pocket well, which what I mean by that, shift around, step up, move to the side, find windows. You're going to run the football, which is that will forever be our bread and butter. You're going to play the defense that you're going to play, which hopefully will be even better this year. But Jacoby, all he has to do is just complete passes within like a 20 and under yard window. Like if you can just be competent there and have somewhat of a threat in the pass game, the Browns offense will be fine because of how lethal that run game is. And to your third question there, as far as Jimmy G, I just want to point this out right quick. And I thank you for liking the tweet. A certain somebody stole my idea that I hadn't heard anybody else say. And so I will come out and take credit for it because I mean, if he thought of it first, then I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anybody say anything. If I was Andrew Berry, I would call up Washington because Taylor Heineke is somebody who last year played very, very well. As far as somebody who shouldn't be a starter in the NFL. Now, keep that in context. They got Wentz. They paid a lot of money for him. I believe they traded for him, right?
I don't remember how they got him.
Yeah, I don't remember either. And then they also drafted Sam Howell, who's looked pretty good so far in the preseason. He's their future. So nowhere in that quarterback room does Taylor Heineke have a long-term spot. If I was Barry, I would at least call and say, hey, what would it cost? What would it cost? Because that's a guy who was pretty good last year for Washington. You could bring him in. He'd be cheap. He's a vet. He's not like a Gardner Minshew who's still a little bit young, which I love Gardner Minshew. I think he did a great job on Sunday. But if you told me the quarterback room could be Brissett, Heineke, Dobbs, or Heineke, Brissett, Dobbs, I'd feel a lot better.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I just think that we're running out of time. And, and it's the chemistry, it's the reps, it's the install of the offense. It's all of this that you have to be able to do. So if the Browns at this point, I personally believe if they don't fully believe in Jacoby and they want to make a move, it doesn't matter who they brought in. That person's not gonna take Jacoby's spot. Jacoby's going to be the week 1 and probably week 2 starter unless he craps the bed. So if we go into the Panthers game and Jacoby loses us that game, we can point to him and be like, bro, you just Brandon Whedoned us, with an underhand pass and just, we lost because of that crap. And then we lose to the Jets. I mean, that's full-blown panic mode. But if we had those guys, it's up to the coaching staff now and Andrew Berry to recognize that possibility and say to themselves, okay, if Jacoby stinks or gets hurt or is unable to play for whatever reason, are we comfortable handing the ball to Josh Dobbs and say, Josh, go play? Or do we have to go get a Heineke, get a Jimmy G or somebody like a Minshew or something like that, who to my knowledge isn't even available. He's going to be the backup quarterback. But a player like that we could say is going to be Jacoby's backup in the event, and it's just like we wait and see. They have to do that now. They can't wait till like he already stinks or he gets hurt, because if not, it's going to Dobbs. right?
Jimmy G can't be on that list. And I like Jimmy G. I know a lot of people think he flat out sucks, which I don't understand. It's not that he's a terrible quarterback, but people forget about that shoulder injury. And maybe I only have this mindset because I'm coming off of a shoulder injury right now. Like for people who think that's a joke, it's not a joke. I've been physical therapy multiple times a week now for the past couple weeks. It sucks, but I went out today and I probably wasn't supposed to, and I tried to throw a football. Now, could I throw the football? Yes. Did I throw it well? Sure. Did I have the strength? No, not at all. And
Right.
that is my concern here because it's not that Jimmy G can't play football ever again. It's not that he can't be accurate. And obviously, I'm not Jimmy G. I'm just using myself as an example.
Sure.
If he's coming off of this injury and he's not been able to lift or he's not been able to keep throwing, whatever, that strength is going to take time to build back up. What do you need to play the quarterback position in Cleveland? You have to have some arm strength.
Yeah.
So Jimmy's not on my list. I'm sorry. I like him a lot, but given the situation, I can't bring in Jimmy G.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing. People look at it like everything, every decision is like Madden, or they're making a decision in a vacuum where everybody's 100% healthy and everybody's going to play to the top of their potential no matter where they're plugged in, and that just isn't the case. You know, we saw a tiny glimpse of Deshaun Watson in the first preseason game, and it was 1 for 5 for 7 yards, and again, there are 2 drop passes, but he also just completely sailed one. That first one, where there's clear, he sailed it. So there's going to be some rust there, and there's no guarantee that Deshaun Watson is going to be the same Deshaun Watson that he was on the Texans. We don't know. He's been out of football for a little while. The potential's there, but he has to go out and execute it. And does he have the mental fortitude to be able to get through what type of vitriol and venom he's going to get from these opposing fans, and even honestly probably from some of the home fans, as we saw in the stadium last week. You know, there's going to be the fans in the home stadium that are going to yell stuff and boo and hold signs and wear t-shirts and blah blah blah. So once you break down a guy like that, once you break down that certain level of armor that they have, they sometimes turn into different people. So I don't know if he can still be Superman. We're gonna have to wait and see, right?
Well, he better get used to playing the villain, and that doesn't mean I don't know him personally. I'm sure you don't know him personally. A lot of us don't know him. Who knows how he is as a human being? We don't really know. You know, we can guess based on what we're told, but the reality is, on that football field, he better learn how to be the villain because guess what? From here on out, if you can't play that role, you're not going to be able to play in the NFL. You know, it's almost like I use this example a lot, and I know some people will get it, some people won't, but it's like in professional wrestling. Some of the best characters of all time can play both. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the greatest of all time. The Rock, one of the greats of all time. They're great at both. They know how to play both sides. It's obviously different in football because it's not like you're acting, but just from, I guess, the way you carry yourself, the way you prepare, it's got to change. It's got to be different. He's got to come out there and say, it's me against the world. You know what I'm saying? Because who knows? His team probably has his back. We've already seen that, but he's got to act like I got to be the best Deshaun Watson 24/7 because every time he gets a chance to step on that field, it's a gift. Like he could have lost it. He legit could have lost it. And there's people who want him to lose that.
Oh yeah.
So take every chance you get and run with it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's good advice. You know, and when I talk about it on Twitter too, my opinion on the Deshaun Watson situation has evolved over time. And, you know, I've talked to people about that. Whereas initially when I heard about it, I was taking a very pretty hardline stance that this is not a good move and it doesn't matter like what it is, you know, based off of what he's being alleged to have done. and then you learn more about it. You understand, you listen to the lawyer, you see the documents that have been released, and then you got to come up with your own decision. And for me, I look at it like this. I'm a Browns fan. That's what it is. I'm not going to apologize for being a Browns fan. I'm not gonna go out there, and I'm certainly not gonna boo one player, because if you boo Deshaun Watson when he's on the field, you're booing Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Amari Cooper, Peoples-Jones, David Bell, Njoku, Harrison Bryant, Wyatt Tell. I mean, I could name them all. Football's a team sport. It's not golf. It's not tennis, right? It's not even basketball where there's only 5 guys out there, right? This is there. He's going to go out there with a unit. And if those guys have his back while he's on the field, then we have to have his back while he's on the field, right? If we don't, then, you know, I say just don't root for the Browns. If you can't get over Deshaun Watson being out there, don't root for the Browns, right? And but then I'm not saying that you have to love the guy off the field. Like if he is a little pervy, and if that's not your thing, and you can't get over somebody who's got that type of thing in their personal life, that's totally okay. But I will tell you this, and the thing that pisses me off a lot about it is you go down the list of every team in the NFL, and they either have somebody on that team that's done something bad currently on their team, or they've rooted for that person in the past, right? And they were able to compartmentalize that, right? So now, but we're not allowed to like the Browns. We're not allowed to continue to root for our team because of what one guy has been alleged to have done, you know, and all the issues that he's dealing with. And I just think it's unfair. Like, I'm a Browns fan. I'm not going to apologize. You're a Browns fan. I would assume you wouldn't apologize either.
Well, for me, it comes down to, you know, and everybody's allowed to believe what they want. But for me, it's the whoever's without sin, throw the first stone. Listen, as human beings, we all mess up. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. You know, how perfect you would say you are. You know, nobody's perfect. Nobody can live life 100% clean. Obviously, some mistakes are worse than others, and the reality is none of us really know 100% what went on, except Deshaun Watson, you know, the women themselves, and God, I guess, if you want to say that. So for me to sit here and tell somebody, hey, if you think this, then you're an idiot and all that, and from the people on the other sides of like, hey, if you believe this, then you should have the same thing done to you. Like, no, you got to look at it from a big picture, right? Because the reality is there is some media play in this, because the media will always take the side that makes them look the best, right? Regardless of if what happened or if it didn't, right? Nobody's saying nothing happened. Nobody's saying everything's true. Like, I'm just talking in general. The media and what the NFL is going to portray is that, hey, we're the good guys here. We're going to be the aggressive ones. We're going to take the stand. Even though there's 50 billion different cases of the NFL not caring about women, not caring about CTE, not caring about players dying, there's so many examples, but they're going to take the moral police side of things. They're going to try to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
So to your point, what you said about how you kind of changed your opinion, I think that's how everybody should. Not that they have to change their opinion, but if you feel very strongly about this, because I've been attacked personally, I've been borderline in tears over some of the stuff that I've been attacked with as far as Deshaun Watson and my family and stuff. And I'm not saying that to feel bad about myself or anybody to feel bad for me.
It's the reality of what happens online.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It's the reality of, you know, like you said, what happens. But I would just say, if you feel that strongly, if you feel strongly enough to be in people's DMs, calling them names and stuff like that, take the time, read, do your own research, do your own investigating, whatever you feel comfortable with, do that, because you are literally putting other people's lives in danger by just being a fan. Like, I'm not saying go buy Deshaun jersey, go be his biggest fan. I'm just a Browns fan.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk about the Browns. But yeah, people, it's tough, but this is what we signed up for. this is what getting an elite quarterback meant for the Cleveland Browns, and we're on this roller coaster ride, and we're riding it now.
Yeah,
So
I still think that Deshaun's going to win us a lot of football games. I really do. I think that he does still have something to prove, even though he has the guaranteed contract. And I think that if nothing else, he wants to go out there and play football and get people to forget about all the personal stuff just by, what he does on the field. Same thing with Roethlisberger. Same thing with guys like Michael Vick. I mean, you go out there and you win and you play spectacular football. A lot of people have a very convenient way of forgetting about past misdeeds, right? So I think that's what he's looking forward to the most. And then, you know what? I think that the one thing that's really interesting, and you and I were talking about Twitter and the Spaces and stuff to start off this whole thing. I feel like for a while it was just constantly there's just battles on Twitter, and it got exhausting to the point where I was like, I gotta take time off of this. I got the same way. I'm like, I took a month off, and I'm like, I don't get to talk to anyone. I'm just deleting it for a month, and finally started working my way back. And I think the mute button and the block button are two things I never really wanted to do, because I was like, yeah, it's weak if you block somebody. Like have an exchange of ideas and then talk about it. But unfortunately on Twitter, not a lot of people want to have an honest conversation. They just want to argue with emotions, or they want to argue about headlines. And like you said before about reading and doing some research, going beyond the most simple form of just reading the headline, you'll uncover some things that are kind of strange about the whole situation. Now, I'm not saying that Deshaun's 100% innocent, and I'm not saying that he's 100% guilty. I think that there's a spectrum of something in between, and is it good? It's clearly not. And to the point where he even had to come out and finally officially make like an apologetic statement. So even he knows it probably wasn't the right thing to do what he did. But at the end of the day, we have to decide if we want to move on, or if we want to let this fester forever. And, people out there have been Browns fans. My dad has been a Browns fan for like 60 years, 70 years, if you want to call it his entire life, 73 years. He's been a Cleveland Browns fan. It's been part of his identity and part of, something that gives him a great amount of joy. And to be able to say, I'm turning that off because of one player, I turn around and I say, you know what? For how negative you feel about one player, I just ask you to take a couple seconds and picture in your head Nick Chubb running the football and stiff arming somebody into a different zip code. And then what kind of human being Nick Chubb is. Because he's not giving up on the Browns. He's not saying I quit. He didn't quit on you, so you shouldn't quit on him. Right?
Yep.
Even if you don't like one, just don't quit on Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett or Wyatt Teller or whoever you want to be your guy, right? They're not quitting on the team, so don't quit on them. Just go out there and see what happens, right? But anyway, DF, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on the channel. I appreciate you spending some time with me this evening.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, it's been a long time since we've been able to actually talk and not just message and DM. So, I like I said the last time I talked to you, you're definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, post game, people to watch and listen to. So I appreciate that you're still doing this and you still put in the time and the effort. So I speak for everybody who listens and saying, thank you for doing what you do. Tell your dad I said hi. Tell Ristano I said hi. So,
Oh, I will, absolutely. Ristano's busy right now. He's moving. So
I get it.
He's
I just moved too.
Deep in the thick of it. Yeah. So all about that. And so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on him. Plus, as we all know, every year, Ristano, he's our starting quarterback. We got to keep him. Yeah. We got to keep him on the sidelines till the regular season starts. So with that level of talent, when you have that level of talent, you don't just put him out in the preseason to get injured, the vocal cords, whatever. Right? You got to save him for prime time. And that's what we're really doing with Mike. But anyway, Derek, thank you very much, guys. Follow him, DF_sports_ on Twitter. Also DF Sports on YouTube. So you got there. And then check out, if you happen to be on Twitter, I don't know how much of my audience actually has both sides of it. Some of them do. But if you're
missing out if you don't. Let me tell you, there's a whole nother world that you can explore.
Yeah, it's a dark world.
Some of it, yeah.
But there is a world, right? So hang out, check out those Browns After Dark. Those guys are great too, very entertaining. So all right, guys, thank you very much. We will see you on the next one. Subscribe to the channel too. I always forget to say subscribe to the channel, and go Browns.
Go Browns.